This is Sharon Rose. I'd like to read for you today one of my most popular blog posts entitled Guilty Conscience. At the top of the page I have a quote. It says, "No one is perfect, that's why pencils have erasers." The Asperger's traits addressed in this post include perfectionism, difficulty reading social skills, and rule-bound behavior. I had a request from a reader to address the topic of guilt. As Aspies, we sometimes get that guilty feeling that someone's mad at us, but either we can't figure out what we did wrong socially, or we are misreading cues and our friends are not mad at all. Alternately, our friends get mad at us and their nonverbal cues go right over our heads. Or possibly, our friends ask us if we are mad, and we are simply being quiet and concentrating hard, and the serious look gets interpreted as a mad look. Or, when Aspie leaves abruptly, forgetting to say goodbye, and a sensitive Aspie friend assumes the other is mad at her. These are examples I have heard or observed among my friends. In my own case, my biggest problem is using words to express my own feelings of being mad. I tend to let a dirty look say it all, or become sarcastic, which does not accomplish the goal of communicating my hurt feelings to the person I'm mad at. When I get mad at someone with just cause, my goal would be to produce guilty feelings in that person without hurting their feelings back automatically. Not very good at it. If you think a certain person is mad at you, it's okay to ask. If you ask frequently, and especially if they're your friends, you're likely to get a lot of no answers. Believe them. If you get a yes answer, then follow it up by asking, "How did I hurt your feelings? How can I do better next time?" You don't necessarily have to explain your Asperger's traits unless you think it would help your friends be more patient with you. You may want to say, "I'm not using my Asperger's syndrome as an excuse, but it's an explanation for why I can't tell whether or not you're mad at me and how to fix it if you are." My own ongoing sense of guilt could be interpreted more as regret or a sense of failure. This ties in with the Aspie trait of perfectionism, as well as the experience of being raised in a Christian home, in my case, in a missionary family. What I try to remember is that I don't have to be perfect because Jesus was perfect for me. He died in my place for all the wrong things I have done, the poor choices I have made, and while he was completely free from guilt himself. So even though I want to do my best, make good choices, and avoid mistakes, my motivation is meant to be my love for Jesus, not my own pride. One way to find freedom from guilt and regret is to replace should thinking with could thinking. When you catch yourself thinking, "Oh, I should do things this way," you can rephrase the thought to read, "I could do things this way. I'd like to do things this way. I choose to do things this way." The could for should substitution idea is not original to me. I read it in a book by Timothy L. Sanford, whom I met when he gave me a few counseling sessions back in 1999. The book, titled "I Have to Be Perfect and Other Parsonage Heresies," is written specifically to preachers' kids and missionary kids. I'm a missionary kid. I believe much of the content was helpful to address my Asperger's way of thinking as well, specifically perfectionism, struggling with emotions, and rule-bound behavior. Here's a quote from I Have to Be Perfect that explains why you would want to replace should thinking with could thinking. It's not just a word game. When you exchange the shoulds for the coulds, you give yourself options. When you have options, real options, you have real choice. When you have choice, you have freedom. When you have freedom, you have the responsibility that comes with choosing. Sometimes that responsibility comes down to choosing between wisdom and foolishness. Most of the time, though, it's a matter of choosing from several different options that all have positive and negative elements to them. You're free to engage the brain God gave you to choose freely. If you're interested, I'm going to post in the comments a link to a summary of I Have to Be Perfect from the blog Thoughts of a Third Culture Kid. In closing, I'd like to share a Bible verse that's related to this topic. 2 Corinthians 5:17, 18a, and 21. Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. And all things are of God, who hath reconciled us to himself by Jesus Christ. For he hath made him to be sin for us, who knew no sin, that we might be made the righteousness of God in him. Thank you for listening today.